You know what time it is, no matter where you've been. So let's do it again. Listen up and let the sun shine in. We've got
Ghoul Training. Because all ghouls matter.
And here's Daniel, Alan, and Joe.
All right. Do you know what happened in about 1979 or 80, somewhere in there? A lot of things happened. I mean, I know it's a broad question. There's a lot of things that happened in 79 or 80.
Was that when Reese's Pieces got really popular?
No. Oh, no. No, okay. I think that happened way before then or after. I can't remember. But when I associate 79 or 80, my mother and father used to take me to the drive-in where you had the huge screen. It was just, it was big screen before big screen became big screen. And they took me to see E.T. And I'm 50 years old and I still cannot spell terrestrial. But I remember when E.T. came out, and that it did pique my interest.
Mm-hmm.
I thought E.T. was real. I can remember people like kids dressing up as E.T. for Halloween.
Yeah, E.T. was what I was getting at. Have you not heard that about product placement? That's when product placement became like really a thing. Apparently,
like you're being serious, right?
No, yeah, I'm being serious.
Product placement, like in store shelves or something.
No, in movies and television shows and stuff like that. Like they wanted to use M&Ms. As the candy that E.T. liked.
Like cameos for M&Ms.
Sure.
It's called product placement.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Anyway, but somehow like they couldn't get permission to use M&Ms or something. I don't know. So they used Reese's Pieces, and the sales for Reese's Pieces just took off after that because E.T. liked Reese's Pieces, and so it became.
It's a form of advertising.
It's a form of advertising.
And now Seinfeld apparently kind of perfected it, but now they pay big money to get their product into movies.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't mean to derail you.
Oh, you did. You did not. I was just going to phone home. But anyway, you didn't. Halloween, I wanted to be E.T., but I wasn't built for the E.T. costume.
Yeah, but you are out of this world.
I am now. That's another zinger. I was more of the offensive lineman costume. That's what they kind of got for me. But, that was my first introduction to extraterrestrial. And then I can't remember. I probably would not recommend this movie, but I also remember I was really scared. My parents took me to see Body Snatchers, and that was an alien type thing. I mean, I didn't sleep for 2 weeks. I don't know if it was the Reese's Pieces or I didn't know what it was. But I was like 7 years old. I mean, it was just horrible. But that E.T. and Body Snatchers was my first introduction to out of this world type stuff. I thought it was just us. I mean, that's how I thought, but people have, they think beyond that now. Pun intended.
Beyond. Well, UFOs, extraterrestrials, those sorts of things have been in the news cycle lately. They were kind of starting to overtake the news cycle until the whole Israel-Hamas war kind of broke up. Before that, you know how these news cycles go.
Right.
Whatever's the hot topic.
Just in circles.
So much of a hot topic. Did you see the Mexican alien and whatever their version of Congress is?
Yes. And that looked like E.T.
That looked like something that they made in like a fourth grade art paper mache class.
Was it like something they presented something?
They presented this little body that they claimed was an alien body. And it did look like a little paper mache.
Where'd they get it?
E.T.
Somebody obviously made it, but they were trying to pass it off as a real
congressman.
This supposed serious scientist or somebody down there was passing it off as this is a corpse of an alien. But anyhow, the reason we're talking about this stuff today is it's been in the news cycle, and we want to know, since it's Ghoul Training, I'll mention that, our Halloween episode. See the previous 2 Halloween episodes for further ghoulish thoughts. We want to talk about, are there aliens? And if there are there any theological implications there? What are we supposed to think about? If you're asleep tonight, alien.
Hey now,
good grief.
Don't be name calling. This
Alan.
is a church podcast.
If you're asleep tonight, Alan, And
I can't sleep a wink now after all the things you're talking
little
about.
green man walks across the field outside your bedroom. What does that do to you? Not necessarily you, but how do you view that in religious thinking? So let's think about that. Alan's looking at me like,
You don't really want an answer, do you? So,
yeah, well, that's what we're going to talk about today.
You have to come back to me on that one.
Because there's some folks that think, well, the second that an alien shows up, all religion is kaput, doesn't matter anymore, because obviously our worldviews have been all wrong.
Yeah, I think there are significant theological implications to the idea of aliens. And first, I guess maybe we should define terms a little bit. As we're talking about aliens, I think in our conversation, we're really talking about super intelligent life forms from other places in the galaxy, in the universe besides Earth. I have zero problem with the idea that there could be living things on other planets, some animals, plants, bacteria, stuff like that. I have no theological issue with that at all. But the idea that there would be super intelligent beings, I think, does create a challenge for the Christian. Even you shared an article with us as we're preparing for this.
It was good, too. It made me think.
Yeah, it's called Did Jesus Die for the Klingons or something like that? I don't remember exactly how it was worded. But there was this little excerpt from it, and it's presented kind of like a interview sort of thing. And the question is, which religion will have the toughest time reconciling aliens with its beliefs? And here's how this article, obviously not from a Christian standpoint, but how it answers it.
It was from Scientific American, scientificamerican.com. Did Jesus save the Klingons was when we were talking about.
Okay. So their answer to which religion will have the toughest time reconciling aliens with its beliefs is the ones that have decided that we humans are the sole focus of God's attention. The religions that see the world through that viewpoint tend to be some of the Christian evangelicals. The Eastern Orthodox Church, a branch of Catholicism, also has that view. Now, I think the Eastern Orthodox would take great umbrage at the idea that they are a branch of Catholicism, but that's outside of what we're talking about. And then he says there are some people...
Umbrage, he says.
What did he say?
I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about.
They would be upset by it.
Okay.
So he's showing off. Big words. Big words again.
So... There are people, this says, that who claim that if God created extraterrestrials, then there clearly would be words in the Old Testament and New Testaments, which we have already found, that would have said explicitly that God created extraterrestrials. And since those words don't exist, there can't be, or there's nothing in the Old Testament that talks about telephones either, and telephones do seem to exist. That last statement is kind of patronizing and ignorant, actually. But the idea that those of us who believe that mankind enjoys a special favored status with God would have difficulty with super intelligent alien life forms, I think is accurate, because
You're saying some religious folks would.
I would. I'd have an issue with it.
If NASA or whoever discovered there's another Earth, another planet somewhere, and there's people like us running around on that planet, then you'd be upset about that.
I think it would be challenging to my theology, because I believe we are created in God's image and are very special and favored as a result of that. And if there were other creatures like us, that would create a whole host of issues that we would have to really wrestle with. Have they sinned? Do they need to be evangelized? Does Jesus' sacrifice apply to them as well? Do they have eternal souls like we do? What's the nature of all of that? And so, my view of creation and what God has done with us really kind of precludes the idea that there are. I think we're at the top of the non-supernatural level of the creation totem pole as it
pyramid,
is.
maybe.
Pyramid. Yeah, exactly. Now, I do believe there are angels and demons. So I believe there are supernatural beings that are powerful and different from us, but that's a whole different sort of
But
thing.
as far as intelligent species go, we're alone in the universe.
I believe so.
Well, and I guess, two things I listen to you talk is I think the article that Joe sent, that the author, I skimmed it, they said, okay, so if there's 1,500 planets, so does that mean Jesus has to go to all those planets or went to all those planets and, was crucified and, go through they really got deep with that.
Right.
But see, for me, and I told you all on the front end, I think that's why people like Soul Training is we're authentic. We're not, well, I'll speak for myself. I'm not polished. I'm not, we're just us kind of thing. And I told you on the front end that it's never really captivated me one way or another. I know I probably should be more concerned than I am about astronomy and extraterrestrial, all those things. But I only, I only cling for me what I've been exposed to. And some might say I'm narrow-minded. That's fine. I've been called a lot worse. But Scripture, Genesis chapter 1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And see, for me, that's enough. That applies to me. Now, if we discover, what you said, if somebody presents us with a body or, Area 51, that has piqued my interest over there. I like all those mysteries and stuff. If we find out that, Area 51 is holding, a small city of people, I'm not going to, I'll be like a little anxious about it. I don't want them to come out to where I live or anything like that. But I'm not going to be upset theologically or religiously or doctrinally because I just, my Bible that I've got, that's what I cling to. And if God, God is God. If God created, hey,
He created them too.
He's God, yeah. I'm only, there's only me I'm trying to control. I can't control anybody else.
But it's an interesting thought.
It's interesting.
It is.
It's interesting, but I'm not going to get worked up about it.
Well, we wanted to talk about this because it's a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody seems to really know what's going on. We all have our thoughts.
Right.
I haven't seen any evidence for any aliens.
Well, I think there are things that may be beyond our understanding, things that are difficult for us to comprehend. You've had, did you watch any of the congressional hearings and stuff that were about it here a couple of months ago?
I saw some of the headlines.
Yeah. So, there are like these Air Force pilots and other pilots and stuff that have reported encountering vehicles that seem to maneuver in ways that are beyond, that are far beyond.
They're defying physics.
Yeah, exactly.
When you say vehicles, you mean like in the air, like these Air Force pilots and people like that.
Well, there was one of them that I saw was going some super speed, and then it would go underwater, but there was no drag, and there was no wave, and there was no anything else, and it would come up.
Right.
We can't make stuff that does that we know about.
Right.
But is any of that documented?
They've got video of it.
I really don't know. I'm not being, sarcastic.
That's what the hearings were about, right, Daniel?
Exactly, yeah. So from a sense that there's, I guess, videos and there's testimony, it's documented from that standpoint. From the sense of, have any of those things vehicles been found and put forward for public scrutiny? I don't, guess so. But there's at least enough people that are giving testimony and are saying, hey, there's stuff that we've witnessed that we can't explain. And I don't know that in this podcast we're going to explain everything that they have.
That's not our purpose.
No.
But throughout the history of mankind, there's been things that haven't been explained.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get there
Right.
where we understand, and there's going to be some things. I mean, God tells us we're not going to know everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's some things, the secret things are for Him, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Was there anything else about aliens? Or have we covered it? This might be a short episode.
Well, I mean,
if my battery dies, it's really going to be a short episode.
it's really going to be short.
Yeah.
I would have an easier time believing that those things were technologies of that humans had created. Even I don't know. I'm willing to entertain some bizarre thoughts, but I don't think that the best explanation for those things is that they're coming from non-human origins.
There seems to be a segment of the population that anything that we've never seen before, well, it's got to be alien.
It's got to be an alien. Well, if you're coming from an atheistic standpoint, then aliens are a perfectly rational explanation for things. Because if you're believing that life just evolved here and we're here by complete happenstance and chance, why wouldn't it have happened somewhere else as well? And so there's really, from the atheistic standpoint, there's absolutely nothing special about humans. If an atheist feels like humanity is special, it's really just because his soul longs to believe. But there's nothing from an atheistic standpoint that would suggest there's anything special about us. That all comes from a theological standpoint. So for an atheist, yeah, why wouldn't there be aliens? They might even long for that because there's something in us maybe that wants there to be something above us, like something right greater than us.
That's why it's weird to me, is the folks that believe in all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How do they know we're not the most advanced? Somebody's got to be the most advanced in the universe.
Always assuming
aliens,
that, yeah.
But they always assume that we're some dummies that... You get what I'm saying?
Right.
What if we were the most advanced? It still blows all their stuff. But I'm with you. I think evolution, it's just a paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
You're either going to believe the word and believe the things that we can prove,
yeah,
or you're going to go out on a limb and think, well, maybe there's evolution. And if there's evolution, you just follow that chain. Maybe it's somewhere else, like you said.
Right. And something that evolutionists have to really struggle with, or atheistic scientists have to struggle with, is the vast improbability of life and even the fine-tuning of the universe to advantage life. Like we live in an extremely privileged position as humanity. The odds of us randomly having happened where we are so staggering that's why atheists have to create these billions and billions of years timeline, is to try to imagine enough time for the impossible to happen. So much so that, have you heard scientists talking about the multiverse in a serious way?
Yeah, they're going straight to comic books now.
Yeah, exactly.
You said multiverse and not metaverse.
Yeah.
Multiverse. Okay. So they would believe, basically, you ever watch the Avengers?
No.
It's literally out of comic books. But
yes.
They're starting to think about it.
Well, I've seen the movies. My son, who was younger, we'd go to some movies.
Well, so they're saying there's another Alan Jones in another dimension.
Really? Isn't that cool?
And then there's 30... I don't know if all the dimensions could handle another Alan Jones. But that's what they're saying. And it's complete... Where do they... It's complete garbage. There's no proof of any of that.
It's a theoretical construct that's meant to deal with the problem of fine-tuning. The laws of physics are so fine-tuned to be exactly like they need to be for life to thrive. If there's so many things, if they were slightly different, and they could have been so many different ways, but if they were slightly different, then life just could not exist the way that it does. And so as scientific theorists are trying to deal with that, just like the billions of years concept, they got to create more room for chance to happen. So if this is the only universe, that's really hard to explain. But if this is one of countless universes, then sure, the odds are that in one of so many universes, then things will be finely tuned like they are here.
Well, that's what they say. But no matter how many universes you have, you can't get something from nothing.
Exactly.
And they can't figure that out. So we have so much evidence for God,
mm-hmm.
and there's so much proof for the things that the Bible says are true, and so much proof for design. I know we've talked about it before, but Francis Crick, when they were discovering DNA, had to keep reminding himself, as an atheist, this is not designed. It's not designed. Because it was obviously very designed.
Yeah.
But he couldn't let that come into his thoughts because he didn't believe in God.
Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to insist that God's not an option for explaining things, then you have to come up with some silly things to try to explain the unexplainable.
I know that's a whole nother episode, but, evolution doesn't work. We cry, we laugh, we're happy, we're sad, we make choices, we have remorse, we have a conscience, all those things. That's not evolution. That's emotion. And I know that I know, but and that's why I don't even, I used to, but I don't even get, really spend a lot of calories thinking about atheists. I should, but I'm not, they don't scare me. I'm not intimidated. I just kind of pity them in a respectful way.
Well, see, I believe that that's our new Christian fight, is that we need to know the gobbledygook they think, so we can know how to talk to them.
Is that a Halloween term?
Gobbledygook? Yeah. You haven't had a gobbledygook candy bar?
No, never. I had a whatchamacallit.
They're disgusting.
That's a real thing?
No,
I've never even heard of that. Okay.
I haven't either. Hey, I know my candy. I've not heard of that.
Oh, that's right.
There is another whatchamacallit. It's like thingamajig or something like that.
Whatchamacallit. No, it's not as good today as it was back in 80 or 81.
Yeah.
I can remember those.
Yeah.
They're made out of less stuff. Well, that was good stuff back in the.
But anyhow, you need to know what those folks are thinking, so you know how to approach them and how to counter them.
Oh, sure. And yeah.
It's like Dr. Jeff Miller was saying the other day. Used to, we were teaching folks about baptism. Mm-hmm. Well, now we have to teach folks that God's real before we worry about baptism.
Yeah, it's a further drift, and I wanted to go back and kind of walk back just for a second. I obviously I would never discount or limit or restrict, the importance, because you have to. I mean, I have a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old, and the things they're going to encounter continually is totally different than what we've encountered, from a religious standpoint, because you have to, like Jeff Miller said, you've got to know the other side. I want to know what I'm up against. So those studies are important. But I go back to, even with, you mentioned the congressional hearings with UFOs and all those things. I could never figure out why Congress was listening to Mark McGuire and Roger Clemens and all those people with steroids and baseball. I could never figure that out years ago. So I wonder
how many autographs the congressman got after that from those guys. They're all baseball fans.
I'd say zero. I'd say depending on
I bet they asked.
Who was asking the questions. But, I mean, so I don't, place like, I guess I'm a little skeptical, of of politics, of our government leaders on both sides. I mean, I go back to I watched a little bit about Area 51. I've seen that you have to have like special clearance. People get on a bus and they go to work there, and then they're, I'm like, I just, I'm just so over all that stuff.
The government's not above, at least making plans to mislead the public.
Sure,
that
may be intentional.
There was a plan documented, and I wish I had looked this up so I'd have the facts, straight. So I'm working off of.
Just make them up.
Make them up.
That's
okay.
what we do.
We're in Congress. Go ahead.
There was a government plan documented at one point in time to where they were going to fake the second coming of Christ, by projecting Jesus in the clouds in order, I guess it was to create a hysteria, to create a diversion. I don't remember the purpose of it.
Raise gas prices.
Raise gas prices.
You think
that's what it's all about is the gas prices. But if you could do something like that, then if you needed to come along and institute a
I agree with you.
Panicky martial law kind of situation. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, creating a diversion for whatever reason. But I've got family members who they are not sure that we landed on the moon.
Yeah, I have those family members.
Yeah, too. I mean, really, they'll take you to task on it.
Well, we're getting out there.
I'm sorry.
We are.
Well, that's what we're supposed to do in this episode.
It is Ghoul Training, and guys, if you've never listened to Ghoul Training, by this point, if you're still with us, you realize it's a little different than our normal episodes.
It is.
It's not so much theological. We're thinking of, in the past we did have our soul training players.
Uh-huh.
Forgot about that.
We did
Oh,
we did a little
yeah.
acting,
Forgot about
and then we talked about witches and zombies. I think
Did we talk about zombies?
raising from the dead.
What did we? Maybe.
Yeah, I remember
We
that.
did some Bible ghost stories.
We did some Bible ghost stories. Yeah, with people bringing back folks from
From
the
the
other
dead.
side.
Maybe
And
maybe
I-
Jesus walking on water and they thought he was a ghost.
Yeah, maybe so.
And
Anyhow, with that,
I wanted to get back to UFOs. I
we
want to hear. I
got
want to hear.
like 2 minutes.
Really? Oh,
Yeah, they don't call them UFOs anymore. They're unexplained aerial phenomenon.
They're
So what's the acronym for that?
UAPs.
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 See, I hate that. Everybody's called them UFOs forever. Just call them UFOs.
Back to the
UAPs.
multiverse or the many Earths, or many planets. I hang my faith and my hat on places like Isaiah chapter 40, beginning in verse 21 through 23. Have you not known? Have you not heard? Has it not been told to you from the beginning? Have you not understood from the foundation of the earth? It is He who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them out like a tent to dwell in. He brings the princes to nothing. He makes the judges of the earth useless. To me, he's talking about sitting above. He doesn't say circles, sitting above the circle, sitting above earth. And so that's another place for me that's where my focus is, I'm focused on God. He created everything, and I'm just going with right here. It's the old New King James Version.
Yeah, I don't know that the Bible is going to specifically address whether or not there are aliens. It's not going to answer every question we might wonder, but it tells us what we need to know, which is one reason I kind of think that there aren't aliens, because that would create such a crisis of faith that there's no guidance on what to do with them evangelistically, because that's what we're here for, is to glorify God and to evangelize others. I really feel like there would be some guidance on.
There would be
on
at
what
least
to do.
something.
Yeah.
Well, and we know Jesus died for us.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, we know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
And if God created, more, it's.
what a weird episode.
I know.
So weird.
Okay.
I just want to submit my, submitted.
This was Big Joe's idea, right?
This was most of them were my idea.
It's true.
But this was my idea too. So anyhow, hope you enjoyed this. That's our time. My battery's about to die. Daniel,
All right,
take
let's
us
wrap
home.
it up.
Yeah.
So thank you, dear listener, for putting up with this episode and for letting us be a part of your Halloween theological thoughts.
Yeah. And also, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
You brought this up to us before. We may be the only Christian podcast with an annual Halloween episode.
We've got to be.
So maybe that's our claim to fame.
Right.
Are we going to do other holiday episodes? I can't remember. Did we do one for Thanksgiving once? I can't remember.
Remember that?
No, Halloween's been it.
Really, we should do one for.
We'll stay tuned. Maybe we'll do a
Yeah, okay. I'll stay right here.
You
we'll
never
do
know.
I don't know, 4th of July episode.
Right. So anyway, we want to thank the elders at the South Green Street Church of Christ for making Ghoul Training possible. And dear listener, hope you enjoyed this episode. Give us a 5-star rating, please, and share us with your friends. Pretty please. And until next time, keep Ghoul Training.
Ghoul Training. Because all ghouls matter.
To learn more, you can email us at soultrainingpodcast@gmail.com, or you can write to us, P.O. Box 503, Glasgow, Kentucky 42142. That's Soul Training.